You know that feeling, right? When you're so lost in an activity that time just seems to disappear. That's what people call being in the zone. Well, today, we're going to unpack the actual psychology behind that state of peak performance, that place where everything just clicks.
Seriously, think about that for a second. Why do our best moments, our greatest performances, seem to happen when we're not consciously trying? You see it with a musician who's just lost in a solo, or an athlete who's moving on pure instinct. It feels like magic, but I promise you, it's not. It's science.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with this universal quest for the zone, and then get into what psychologists call flow. I'll show you the 3 exact conditions you need to make it happen. From there, we'll talk about 2 really important mindsets, embracing failure and mastering delayed gratification, before we tie it all together into a path for your own peak performance.
I mean, let's be real, we all face the same battle every single day. The constant pull of distractions, that little voice of doubt in your head, and of course, the fear of failure. These are like the walls that stand between us and our best work, keeping that peak performance just out of reach.
But what if you could just break right through those walls? Well, the key lies in a scientifically defined state that we call flow. And this isn't just some vague, fuzzy feeling. It's a real, measurable psychological state. So what is flow, really? It's a state of complete and total immersion. It's that moment when you are so absorbed in what you're doing that your actions and your awareness just become one. You stop thinking about doing the thing and you just do it effortlessly. And you know, the name flow actually came from the people who first described this feeling to the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. They kept using this metaphor of being carried along by a current of water. It just perfectly captures that feeling of effortless movement and direction.
And this is what it feels like from the inside. Your focus becomes so sharp that the nagging little critic in your head finally goes silent. Hours can literally feel like minutes. The work itself becomes the reward, and you feel this incredible sense of control, like you just can't make a wrong move.
Okay, this all sounds amazing, but the big question is, how do you actually get there? Well, it turns out it's not random at all. There are 3 very specific conditions you can create to make flow much, much more likely to happen.
And here's the blueprint, the 3-part recipe. First, you need clear goals. You have to know exactly what you're trying to achieve. Second, you need immediate feedback. You have to know moment to moment how you're doing. And third, and this is the absolute key, the challenge has to perfectly match your skill level. It has to stretch you, but not so much that it breaks you.
And this right here illustrates that delicate balance perfectly. When a challenge is way too high for your current skill level, you feel anxiety. When your skills are way beyond the challenge, you just feel boredom. But that sweet spot right in the middle, where a high challenge is met by your high skill, that is the gateway to flow. Okay, so to willingly take on those high challenge tasks that lead to flow, you have to have the right mindset. And that means you have to learn to see failure not as the end of the road, but as an essential, non-negotiable part of growth.
This is a huge mental shift. Instead of being afraid of mistakes, you have to start treating them like data. Every single setback is just a piece of information telling you what to adjust for the next time. It stops being a stumbling block and becomes a stepping stone. And the numbers really back this up. One study found that athletes who view their setbacks as learning opportunities are a staggering 40% more likely to achieve their long-term goals. I mean, think about that. Their mindset literally changes their results. And it doesn't even stop there. Other studies show that athletes who actually analyze their mistakes can improve their performance by up to 25% in their next competitions. So it's not just about being mentally tough, it's about learning faster and actually performing better. And of course, there's no better real-world example than Michael Jordan. Getting cut from his high school team wasn't the end of his story. It was the very thing that lit the fire. That failure is what created the legend. So, you've embraced failure, you're ready to take on the challenge, but remember, flow also requires intense, sustained focus. And to build that kind of focus, you need another critical skill: delayed gratification. So here's how this piece fits in. Flow demands deep, uninterrupted concentration. Delayed gratification is the mental muscle that lets you ignore that easy short-term hit of dopamine, like, checking your phone, so you can stay locked in on the more meaningful, long-term goal. To put it simply, it's the skill of prioritizing what you want most over what you want now. It's what allows a writer to finish that chapter instead of browsing social media, or a developer to solve a really complex bug instead of just switching to an easier task.
And the benefits at work are just huge. When you practice this, you see much higher productivity, a stronger ability to stay locked in on your goals, and a workflow that's finally free from all those constant time-wasting interruptions. Okay, so we've covered the state of flow, the mindset you need for the challenge, and the skill you need for focus. Let's pull all these threads together into one unified framework you can actually use. So, here it is, your final takeaway. First, actively seek flow. Look for that sweet spot between high challenge and high skill. Second, embrace failure. Adopt that growth mindset where mistakes are just data. And third, practice focus. Use delayed gratification to build that mental muscle for deep, sustained concentration. Look, this isn't just interesting theory, it's a call to action. So I'll leave you with this one question. What is one challenge, something just a little bit outside your comfort zone, that you can embrace today to find your flow?